So six, they estimate 6.5. Maybe it's less. Let's say even 2 million. And I heard one guy saying it was 1.6 million. 1.6 million species of animals. And some of these people are saying, oh, the dinosaurs are on there too. This is these new Earth theory guys who like try to say the Bible says that the Earth is 6,000 years old, and then everybody's like, explain the dinosaurs. Well, they can't explain the dinosaurs. That's the problem. But they want us. They work so hard to stick to the 6,000-year-old world. It's crazy. So yeah, and that's the part of one of them parts that I talked about earlier that just makes no sense, and it's contradictory, and no, not buying it. What kind of made sense was this story said, I will send an envoy and he will come and he will help you guide this ship. And I don't remember the name of the person, but, or the entity. I think it was one of Enki's kids. It was his kid or his grandkid, but he was there to help, with the voyage. And he brought with him all the essences and eggs of the animals. And I still can't believe there's 1.6 million in this box that he's carrying around. But they were big people, and maybe it was a big box. Eggs are the essences and eggs of animals are microscopic, right? Maybe this is possible. So he brought grains with him too, and then they were ready to go. So he shows up just before the flood's getting ready to go. He's getting them all set, and they close the hatch and prepare for the worst. And they talk about it being having moorings, so they must have tied it to something for the initial blow of the tsunami. And they talked about the tsunami was originated in Antarctica, or near they called it the White Lands of the South. So the other thing that I wonder about is they describe the Earth being 1/3 on the top and 1/3 on the bottom ice. How big were these ice shelves? And if one got dislodged by a meteor or something, what would that do? But what if the Earth is just having like a major earthquake or something? Uh, One of the descriptions was the Earth rang like a bell. And I was like, I've heard that before. Look it up. Alaska had a like, I don't remember. Was it over a 10, a 10? It was over a 10, I think, on the Richter scale for an earthquake. How high did they go? I don't know. It was like higher than high. And one of the things people said was it was weird because it did sound like the Earth was ringing like a bell. Like, that's interesting. I mean, I can understand shaking, but ringing? Interesting. Anyways, so, I mean, the thing is the words they use and the way they describe it, sometimes it's weird how there could be truth in these words because it's happened before and it's probably happen again. But we know tsunamis are real. We know the ice shelves are real. We know Antarctica is white, full of all this stuff. Um, Heart-shaped continent. I mean, all these things is like, okay, they're describing stuff that we know is true. So the hardest part for people to wrap their head around is these intelligent beings that are running around acting like gods and doing incredible things that are like crazy. But here we are. We've got anti-gravity ships. We've got the technology that we got right now is nuts. And if you think about it, if they were farther advanced than us, why couldn't they do whatever they wanted to do? Hell, I don't know. Maybe they had warp drives. Maybe they had portals. Maybe they, I mean, who knows? It's crazy to even think about. But even if you think about it in our time and the things that were going on, is it possible? Yeah. I mean, Tesla has done a lot of things that I look back at and I'm like, that is crazy. He had what did he call it? A death weapon. It could basically destroy anything that it was pointed at. He had machines that could create earthquakes and did so. And that was just on a small scale. What else? He tried to explain frequency and the importance of the frequency. There's the Philadelphia Project where he cloaked a ship. It went horribly wrong, but you can look that up too. Whatever you can imagine, you can make happen. And these beings were like way more advanced than us. So, yeah, wrap your head around that. I know a lot of people are like, you're full of it. No, you can look a lot of this up. Verifiable. And the government is actually using a lot of Tesla's work to do things that is really scary. Somebody said that they have the technology to knock UFOs out of the sky, or at least discombobulate them because of somebody said they use a lot of the magnetic anomalies in the Earth to like zoom around. So, yeah, and you can look all this stuff up. It's I know it's mind-boggling and it hurts your brain. So the tsunami comes and it tears this boat from the moorings. I can't believe I got back on track. Usually I forget what the hell I'm at. And it is underwater. And you can imagine what it's like when a tidal wave comes in. Things just get wrecked. So supposedly they're tumbling around, and eventually the boat pops up. And who knows how many tsunamis there were? Like did it bounce back and forth, and was there more than one? And they were talking about the ice shelves here cracked off, and another ice shelf cracked off, and maybe that's why there was a full Earth tsunami, because a bunch of these like things, and it's unclear what caused it, but they did talk about their planet coming close to Earth, like a near miss type thing, and could its forces like have messed with the poles, shifted things, flipped it upside down, something weird, things that are plausible. Anyways, it, like eventually the water settles down. Supposedly it rained for 7 days and 7 nights. And there was a great wind that came with it. And I'm wondering if they're not talking about the hurricane style like wind. And they said that had effects on the tsunamis and everything. And so, I mean, I'm just trying to think about how would you have a full on earth flood where the water is pushing up against the mountains. And they said that that people would be okay if they were on the mountaintops. So it didn't cover every inch, every mountaintop, or anything like that, according to this flood story. And so they sent out their birds, and one was a crow, one was a sparrow, I think, and one was a dove. And I don't remember the Bible story was a little bit different, I think, with the birds that they sent out. And a lot of people ask, well, why the hell would you send out a sparrow? Why the hell would you send out a crow or a blackbird or whatever? Why would you send out a dove even, or a dove? It makes more sense to send out a pigeon. Pigeons, because because they have the ability to home and come back, and I mean, all birds can do that. They know where their nest is at exactly, and they fly all over the place. They know where they're at. So get out of here with that garbage. And so the dove comes back with a branch, and they kind of make their way over to Mount Ararat. I think that's what they called it. They called it something. It was similar. It was similar to Ararat, but it wasn't Ararat in that story. So they get there. The water eventually recedes enough. They get out and they, you know, um, set up an altar to show appreciation and honor of Enki for what he did, and start cooking some meat. Well, and I mean, these guys are running all over. I don't know if they're just on the daily checking out what's going on the earth or what, because I mean, they know that Earth is devastated, but you're talking about weeks before this water is receding, and then I mean, they were talking about a timeline too, like it was so many days, and it was almost like months, I think. But they happened to be running around, and they smelled this cooking meat, and they're like, well, what's this? Another thing is, something about this story that don't make sense is all the other people that survived. There was survivors all over the earth. So maybe they were just locally running around, but that don't make sense to me either, because you'd want to, maybe there was different ones in different areas checking out the devastation, and Enlil and Enki just happened to be in that area. So they go and check it out, and Enlil's pretty upset, and I don't remember if Ziuzudra spills the beans about what Enki did, but there's a story about Enlil he put his hands around his brother's throat and started trying to choke him out, and he was that mad because he didn't want any of these people around. And I'm thinking, what makes sense to me is, how could he not be mad about all the other humans that made it, but he was mad about Ziuzudra? And then Enki says, but this is my son. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. We're going down another rabbit hole. So, Enki made Noah, and I'm pretty sure he made Moses, and he made several other people in the Hebrew Bible. And the link to Jesus. Okay, this makes sense. Apparently, this guy does this a lot, and he's been running around, and there's spots in the Bible where they know that this is happening, that the gods will come and they'll just like impregnate these human chicks. So, yeah. We'll talk more about that later, I think. Anyway, love y'all. See you in the next video.